Welcome to the Space Plus podcast. Rolly, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Excited to be here.
Oh, I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like when someone asks, how are you doing? And someone says, I'm good.
And no, I
that
actually
is
am.
at the tip of the iceberg. You should say, I'm good. I haven't had the best sleep ever,
I'm just good because, I'm okay. Nothing terrible is going on, which is good.
Right.
If you are a student. Yeah. If you're not crashing and burning, then you're good.
You're good. Today I had the best sleep ever. I woke up because I have insomnia right now, so gets to 6 a.m.
I think I also couldn't sleep well when I was in first year. I don't know. I also used to wake up in the middle of the night.
All right. The problem with me is when it gets to the midnight going forward, the sleep is just not there. So I try to sleep. I can't sleep, so I read Plato's Symposium.
Look, you're actually reading for Letham. That's really good.
I am. I think I am.
Yeah.
I didn't read the Odyssey. And
I never read the Iliad.
Oh, right.
But I wrote an exam on it.
Ooh, okay.
I did okay.
Okay, for me it's because I listened to the audiobook previously. So I'm I have to pick a battle to fight. Should I read the Iliad or the Odyssey, or should I
the Odyssey is actually good.
It's
the
good.
Odyssey is one of my favorites.
All right. I also love the dilemma in it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's get to it.
Okay. You can ask away. How exciting.
Okay. So, what is your definition of quality education?
Okay, that is a heavy question to start with, Angelica. Oh my God. College education, I guess, accreditation from a university, a college. Also, can you say college is different depending on where you're from? Because at home we have universities, then we have colleges. Colleges give you a diploma, a university gives you a degree. But then since we are studying in America, a college education from an accredited university, oftentimes 4 years, oftentimes I've seen people do it in less, majority of people do it in more. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, you answered college education, but asked quality education.
Quality education. Okay, sorry, I didn't hear you. But I guess a quality education, I also genuinely don't know, because I guess a person gets different things from education, and people come to universities or colleges with different intentions and agendas. Some people are Ivy League universities, the quality of the education is not that different from many other universities, but then I came here because of the networking opportunities or the research opportunities. So I guess quality is going to differ from what each person is looking for when they go into this commitment. Yeah.
And if you compare now the Ivy League education, let's start off with an Ivy League education and state schools, probably. What would you say is the difference?
Casey, I've never been to a state school. I don't know. Okay, so from my previous experiences with universities, most of my family went to top African universities. So the UCT, the University of Cape Town, the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg, or the University of Pretoria. And those, I believe, are considered government universities, as most universities are, I think, in Africa, of which they have great education. And so does Columbia. So I cannot really tell you the difference, other than the fact that I am in a different place. Yeah, in terms of location, and maybe in terms of access and the amount of money that places like Columbia, Harvard, Penn get to invest into their student body. I bet that's going to be a stark difference between maybe a state school at home, because I don't know about state schools in America. I'm not even going to lie to you, but state schools at home, government funded universities at home, are not investing in as much research, extracurriculars, and just student life as Columbia would do. They have bouncy houses every weekend so that students can distress, which I have feelings about, but they try, quote unquote, their best to give these students as many opportunities as possible. And I sometimes do think that maybe if I had stayed at home and went to the university I've always wanted to go to for majority of my life, which is the University of Witwatersrand, that maybe I wouldn't have like some of the opportunities I have here. So that's, I think, is what some people might consider a difference, that due to like their endowments and the amount of money that's like former students give back to the university that in turn trickles down to the students, that could be a huge difference.
Yeah, and now the fact that maybe the schools, maybe the University of Witwatersrand, I've butchered that pronunciation.
It's an Afrikaans name, so it's okay. Right. I also don't speak Afrikaans like that.
So like, because it's a government institution and it's a private institution, do you think that plays a role in maybe the endowment effect that maybe Columbia has?
I guess because like a state school, or like partly Columbia also gets money from like the government, but a large sum of Columbia's money is probably going to come from the way that they invest, like as a company, because first and foremost those people are here to make money. So they have investments, they are buying land and property all across New York. They are ensuring that, this is actually one of my little theories, that these people go around the world, get the brightest students, get the people with the highest chances of like achieving, so that when they actually do become like amazing people in life, they are sort of like indebted to this place that changed their life, and they're going to come back and give back like millions of dollars back to the school. So it's always going to be a cycle in that, yeah, they're going to invest in their students, but they know that at the end of the day, a lot of the money that the school makes is going to come from active students or former students.
Yeah, I also thought of the same, like this is just a business, you know, and the job is, as you said, getting the smartest people over here, and like it's the cyclic process. But I'm wondering, because for us, we're international students, do we like have a role to play in maybe also making our education better, you know?
Our education, we're at home.
Home, because at the end of the, I don't know, do you feel like we have a responsibility in the future, maybe, if we're like
I think we do. You were actually there. We go to this student organization called the African Development Group, and we're actually talking about our relationships with like, the conversation was about the US elections, but then it trickled down to like our relationships with our home countries. And even then, like I've always said that I'm going to go back home after school. I don't know if it will immediately be after undergrad, but I know that I'm probably going to be working from home, because it's like the place that built me, that made me, the sacrifices of so many people outside my family that contributed to me being capable of succeeding in a place like Columbia. And whilst for other people it's going to be like, oh my God, getting maybe into Harvard or Yale or Columbia changed my life, I think like my high school and primary school were the places that actually changed my life, that taught me to have drive, discipline, to explore my interests, to be outspoken without, fearing judgment. That's the place where I learned all that. In Columbia, unfortunately for them, unfortunately for my home, is the place that gets to see me like thrive, having learned and cultivated all these amazing virtues. And I come here to Columbia as like a well-formed human being, yet I owe it all to like the place that I call home.
Yeah, that's true. And now, like going back to high school, it also, I feel like high school nurtured me in a way, because shout out to my teacher of English. Like she just
my English teacher
us.
too.
Oh, right, nice.
My English teacher was one of the teachers that wrote my recommendation letter.
Me too. And like she was just so cool, because she used to come to class and like she used to read, maybe she once came to class with the book "You Should Not Be Feminist" by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie.
I have that like in my room.
Oh, nice. And she came to class with it and she read it out to us. She just made us be like this woke. Like woke is a very complicated term because of the connotation that are associated with it right now. But she made us to be very, self-aware, independent, great, powerful women. And I really love that she nurtured that into us in high school. So I don't know. High school education is pretty important, I guess, for people to like become good people. And as much as, okay, we're in Colombia right now, I feel like our background also plays a huge role in making us the people we are.
Yeah, because also like at home, I don't know if this is like a Zimbabwean thing, because I am Zimbabwean, like to the people watching. But people always joke that like there's a difference between girls that went to like single-sex schools versus girls that went to co-ed schools.
Did you go to a co-ed or
single-sex?
Right,
and
nice.
they're like, oh, girls that went to single-sex schools are much more like vocal and confident. But it's because like our teachers who saw us as the best, we're not competing to be like the superior sex and all that gender politics that was never imbued in our type of education. Like you had to be good because you were good. You were not good because you were better than the boys. You were not good because of anything other than the fact that, okay, you're good at what you do. So I guess high school was a time, because I also went to like the same high school in like primary school. I don't know, what do you guys call primary school?
Primary school.
Okay, same.
Yeah, primary school.
I went to the same school. I knew the people. The people knew me. It was a great time.
Oh, so you went to like a single-sex school from like primary school
from
to high
grade
school?
1 to my last year of high school.
For us, it's different because you have to like finish primary school and go to a different high school.
You have to go to a different.
We have to go to a different high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like in primary school, it's like from first grade to 8th grade.
Okay.
It's called class 8, but the system has changed right now. It's like a new system of education. Okay. So back in our time, oh God, I'm old. Back in our time, we used to have like.
You're younger than me. If you're old, how old am I? Oh my God.
Yeah. So. You used to like finish first grade to 8th grade. Then in 8th grade there was this like national exam.
We also have to write national exams.
All right. So like that national exam will determine the high school you go to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like there was this system, I guess, a metric system where the people got above 400 marks because it was 400. The total marks were 500 marks.
Okay.
So if you get above 400 marks, it means that you're smarter than everyone else.
Oh, so you did well. Okay.
So you did well, and you went to a national school. So the national schools are like the highly ranked schools, then extra county schools, then county schools, then sub-county schools. Sub-county schools are like day schools, they're underfunded. And now that's a huge problem in itself with the Kenyan education system because they make smarter students to go to one place. I don't know.
See, for us, it's slightly different, whereby regardless of like the marks you get at like our primary school was from first grade to 7th grade. At the end of 7th grade, regardless of the marks you get, you can go to like sort of any high school. But what happens is within the high school, within each grade, or we call them forms when we got to high school, you'd be split up into different classes. So there was like the first class, second class, third class, so forth, and the first class will be like the smartest, and then it trickles down like that. And it was also a very like controversial thing in my school in particular, because it's the same way whereby like they invest more in the smarter students. They're always like, oh, we expect better from you guys because you're the smarter students. We expected you guys to be able to do this homework because you're the smarter students. Or they'll leave you guys with like zero supervision because as the smarter students, we don't expect you guys to get into trouble. And we're always fighting our teachers about that what are you trying, you guys are clearly not even giving our other peers in the other classes a chance because you guys just expect excellence only from this certain group of people and no one else. And it was always a very contentious system they had. It's still the same kind of thing.
Okay, for us in like...
So you're in the same school, but people are split up in classes.
That was the same thing in maybe 8th grade, because in 8th grade now there was like this class of smart people, because there used to be a sort of indexing exam, and you could get your index number, and if you're the first index to maybe the 12th index, because by primary school there are only 33 students in 8th grade. So
that's a small school.
It's a small school. So maybe the first, let's say 15 students are like the smart ones, right? They go to a different class. Then the ideology behind that was that they would cater to the needs of maybe like the weaker students.
Okay, like different learning paces. But then I fear that's fine if you're going to be catering like to the different learning styles of the different students, but that should not like trickle down to other school experiences, because school, I think, is not exclusively like academics, because we had like extracurriculars, sports, or even just the way students interact. Like, I think with the way, especially the rhetoric that was used in my school in particular, it sort of like made the students even develop like animosity between each other, because clearly the students favored one particular class because they did well and neglected maybe the needs of the other students in the different, you know, endeavors of like a child's life. And then
all right.
There's lots of infighting between students.
Yeah, it's true. And what I liked about high school was that our final exam we used to like, you know, grouped according to how the admission in which you got into school. So if you got into school maybe like on Monday, you had an admission number that is maybe, let's say, the earliest person had like in my class was like an admission number was 77 something, and I was 79 something because I got into like school on Thursday. Not because like I was like called to go to that school, but I just went late, you know.
Okay.
So that doesn't like play a role in like my smartness or anything. Just like makes people go to a different class that are not smart. There's just a mixture of people. So that was nice because like just not like smart people. And that it also alleviated the pressure of like an indexing exam, because I could only imagine if there was an indexing exam and I could have a low index number, that could take a huge toll on my mental health.
Yeah, because also for us, the class groupings largely depended on like an entrance exam to the high school, in addition to like your national exam results.
No, actually, what you mentioned that you're in the same primary school as high school.
Yeah.
So like, how did the final exam actually play out? Because it meant that you still continued with like the same school.
So
like,
you just get your results, and it's sort of like, you know that, oh, this child has completed like their primary school education, and it's just like an accreditation. Yeah.
Oh, so like there's no way of...
I also had to write an entrance exam to get into basically the same school I already went to.
And are there people who like leave the school and probably...
Yeah, they go to other schools. Yeah, and then new people come to our high school from different schools if they want to apply there. Yeah.
Most schools co-ed, or are they like same-sex schools?
I think most schools are co-ed.
Oh, yeah. All right. For us, most schools are same-sex schools, actually. Yeah.
Did you go to a same-sex
school? Yeah. I did.
Okay.
My high school, that is. Primary school is co-ed. Most primary schools are co-ed. There are more primary schools compared to high schools. Then you go to the high school level because it admits more students. For example, my high school had 1,000 and something students, which is like a small number for high schools, because like maybe my class had 200 students and other schools have like 600 students in one graduating class. So I'm wondering how crowded that school was, because I felt like my school was too crowded. So I'm wondering like how...
So our classes since primary school have like an average, well, in my school, because also I only went to like maybe 3 schools my entire life, including Columbia. So
all right. Okay, me too.
The schools at the high school and primary school I went to, I don't know if I should say the name. I won't say the name. No, actually, it's fine. I love my school. It's the Dominican convent in Zimbabwe. Cute little school. The school has like 30 students in each class. And in each grade, there's like 3 or 2 classes. I think 2 classes in primary, 3 classes in high school. So then the graduating class is going to be like 70 students maximum. Yeah.
All right. For us, it was like...
And then maybe high school, 80 to 90, but never more than like 100.
All right.
No.
First, for my high school, we had 200 students, right? 253. By the time we like finished high school, it was 246 thereabout, and like we had streams. So we had like a class that had 50 each, and there were 5 streams of maybe the class of 2020 this.
See, for us, the streams are what they use to like categorize people into the smart class, the not so smart class, and then trickling down like that. So that's why in our high school we had 3 classes in each grade, so 3 streams. So we had, let's say maybe for form 1, Form 2. So we had 2A, which was the smart people, 2A1,
right.
medium, 2A2, the slower people, as they would say. So yeah, lots of fighting.
And there's this like concept I learned in my psychological science class of like how people like grouping themselves. Like we may be grouped right now, and you may be put with another group and me with another group, and I would have a favoritism aspect to my group. Yeah. So like, did people have this sense of probably pride?
Yeah, because see, like people often were friends with people in their class in that way until maybe in our A levels, whereby the stream sort of got mixed depending on what you specialized in your advanced levels. Then the classes started to mix in a little bit more. Yeah.
And how are the private schools working? Or you're in a private school, right?
Yes.
So like is there a disparity between private schools and public schools?
I would say yeah, because oftentimes the public schools are government funded, so they call them like government schools. And of course, like the Zimbabwean government isn't doing as well as they should be for their young people. So the government schools, oftentimes what most people can afford, aren't as well resourced and funded as a private school would be. Yeah. So, but then I would say like government schools are more than private schools in terms of like numbers, and they admit more students.
Right. For us, private schools also less than public schools. But now, and I get it, because now that you mentioned that you are 90 students, it's a private school, of course, like people will be less, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, honestly, it's not an ideal system. No.
Why do you say so?
Because I think, so my family, my parents, both of them went to government schools. And my parents always said that they wanted me to go to like this particular school because they always saw the kids walking on the streets. They were always so neat and tidy. It was known as the school where the kids did really well, and they were like, that's where our child's going to go. That's where I went. But not every single child gets to have like the amazing opportunities I got from going to the convent, whereby the school offered so many sports, like maybe 20 sports, and just because I went to that school and paid tuition there, I tried every single sport. I failed at every single sport. But that's, I fear, quintessential to being a child, whereby you need to be afforded, the opportunities to try and find the things that you like. I tried everything until I found the things that I liked. And there's so much potential within like young people that sometimes it's not recognized because these people don't get like an opportunity to explore their interests the same way a person going to a private school gets access. And can you see with the way it's set up too, because like private schools cost a lot, and the average Zimbabwean is not going to be able to afford to pay that much. That majority of the young people then are part of those that do not get to fully explore their capabilities, their capacities.
You mentioned that your school is a Catholic school. So what role did that play in nurturing the students there?
I don't know whether I agree with Catholic education, actually.
I also went to a very devout Catholic school.
Yeah, I enjoyed the music.
I was in the choir.
They tried to have choirs at some point. They wasn't really successful. But I do think that sometimes a lot of disparaging language and rhetoric towards young people can be masked within like religion and religious undertones, and that's one of the several. Actually, like I loved my school. I went there for like 13 years. I loved it, but it wasn't like the perfect place. There was a lot of like slut shaming under the guises of religion. There was a lot of guilt tripping people because our school motto was Veritas, and they'll be like,
mine was "Thy kingdom come."
Oh, okay. Well, for us, it was veritas, which is like Latin for truth, and every single time, even if you didn't do anything, they'll be like, look at your chest. That stands for the truth. You need to tell
You'd ask them, but what is truth in your definition?
See, we're kids, no one's thinking like
true.
that. And a ton of it, I think, just because of how strict sometimes the school was, made people like rebel in the craziest ways.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself that if we had more open conversations, we were more Jesus, like more Christ-like and not judgmental and welcoming to everyone and loving to everyone, we wouldn't have all these cases whereby people are running away from home, people are skipping school to do different things.
So that was how the rebellion was manifested?
In various ways. These are just examples. I cannot recall, but I know that every year, like someone would have a crazy scandal and parents are being called and people are being lectured. Yeah,
and now you mentioned that same-sex schools had this, there's a way in which they nurture you to be this amazing person because you become vocal, right?
So that's the stereotype in like Zimbabwean schools, whereby if I meet someone and we start talking, they'll be like, oh, so you went to an all-girls school, didn't you? And I'm like, why? They're like, yeah, no, people who went to like all-girls school are very free when they talk. I don't know what it is about because I've never been to a co-ed school until I came to Columbia. So I was trying to like understand, even like growing up, I'm like, what is going on at like co-ed schools that the girls are not talking? What is up about that? And I cannot tell you because I did not go, unfortunately, to a co-ed school.
So, like, I'm wondering, now that we have the same, like, the all-girls school and the maybe vocal, right? So, like, how does the clash between maybe religious ideology, because religion is a very patriarchal text, how does that, clash with?
See, it was always weird to see the school, like, admin itself trying to grapple with that, whereby they're like, oh my God, no, you girls are amazing, you can be anything in the world. And then at the same time, you have to wear a skirt below your knees because you are supposed to maintain your dignity as a woman and you're supposed to save yourself till marriage and all that rhetoric. I'm like, okay, but on one hand, you're telling us that, oh, do your best, you can be anything. Also, at the same time, you're like, but you're also still a woman, and the woman is supposed to do this, that, and that. And like, okay, so which is it?
That was also present.
Because if we're being realistic, honestly, you cannot be a homemaker, a mother, a career woman. That's like having 3 jobs at once and 2 of them not being compensated for. So it's a little push and pull from the way we talk to like young girls at school to the way we expect women to show up like in the workforce. So that was also present in my high school because again the clash between telling you that you can be anything that you want, we're in the best schools, I mean come on, you're the smartest people in the country, and there's this aspect of Christianity where you should submit to maybe your husband. And what I found very interesting was that like when you ask a question, probably like is in the Bible, because they take the Bible as this sacred text, right? And they would always try to rationalize whatever Jesus was saying or whatever was presented in the Bible. Yes, I don't think that we all had to take like religious studies for like years in high school. I don't think you could question what they told you. We just went to the class. There were other classes where you could ask questions more freely, but I think for like religious studies, we got there, we were told, okay, so we're studying the Gospel according to Luke today. This is what it says. You write your notes, and that is that.
How was the religious studies? Was it like Christian religious education? Because that's what we have.
I don't know what Christian religious education.
That's like the subject. It's called Christian religious education.
For us, it was also a subject, but like at least it's per the syllabus set by Cambridge Exam Board. So they sort of follow like the guidelines by Cambridge, but they just stick to the book. You cannot come up with any controversial hot takes. So much so. This is insane. And this happened to my friend too, which makes it that much worse. So like we're sitting in a classroom and the girl that used to sit next to me, we'll call her...
Let's call her Jane.
Jane, thank you. I was about to use her actual name, and I'm like, but people wouldn't know if I use her. I don't know. So Jane, our teacher, R.I.P., he died. It's okay. It's like, okay, everybody, take out your Bible. His name was Mr. Moyo. Take out your Bible. We all take out our Bibles. So I had my little Bible like covered. I still use the same Bible actually, even right now for like philosophy.
I also have the same Bible that I used to use in high school.
I'm not buying their annotated version.
I also have that though too.
I did not buy that. So we all take out our Bible, and Jane takes out her Bible, but it was like clearly like a well-used Bible. Okay, it was like ripped, it didn't have a cover. And then Mr. Moyo looked at her and was like, "Is that the Bible that you use, Jane?" Jane was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Pick up your Bible and throw it out the window." Because it's like that cannot possibly be the Bible you're using. It's ribbed. It doesn't have a cover. It's like, pick up your Bible, throw it out the window. Jane stood up, picked up her Bible, walked over to the window. Our windows were open too because it was like summer. Had her hands out the window when Mr. Moyo was like, sit down. I was like, okay, what is this? Psychological warfare. You could have just told it, please buy another Bible. That's not a good Bible. Like, or why aren't you taking care of like your textbooks? Because in that context of an academic situation, I fear it's not going to have the same effect as like having a Bible in like the chapel. No, in that moment, it's a textbook. Just like my biology textbook is a textbook. So maybe be like, Jane, take care of your books, take care of your textbooks. That's not how you're supposed to take care of your books. Buy another one, okay, at the school bookshop. That should have been it. But oh my God, of course they had to make it so dramatic. Like, there's no way the Bible is supposed to look like that, Jane.
Yeah, and I find it interesting because here in Colombia, I feel like people are more vocal because some people have never read the Bible. Yeah. Some people are not even religious.
Yeah, then some people are like wildly religious. So it's such a mix.
Yeah, it's such a mix. Yeah. And I remember in my lecture class when we were reading Genesis, and then one student says, no, actually God is not knowledgeable. Like, he's not omniscient, because if he's omniscient, he cannot like make human beings suffer. If he's omniscient, why couldn't he have foreseen the problem in the Tower of Babel? I actually like that so much.
See, that's also some of my feelings about some of the texts in the Bible. This is why, I don't know, if I am going to like my regular church at home, I'm going to take what they say to me as it comes. It's fine. I'm in this moment. I'm going to lower my expectations, my inhibitions. It's fine. But then in class, I do sort of see loopholes whereby I'm like, okay, this is a little suspicious, but would I raise those suspicions at my high school like I would at Columbia? No. No. Otherwise, I would probably be like sent to the senior woman, because we had a senior woman who looked at like student affairs and made sure we wore our uniforms well, and be told that I need to stop being a heathen and listen to what is being told to me. And trust me, I was known as the person who like fought the school.
Oh, I love that.
Return. I was almost kicked out my first year of high school. Wow. They forgave me because I'd been there for like 7 years. Okay, like I've already invested so much, but they knew that I was gonna have something to say always. But in that class, I was like, I'm gonna keep my peace. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I remember this one time we faced the board as like prefects, and like the chair of the board is the bishop of like the whole county. Oh. And like because at that time I was a dinosaur.
Bishop was cute though.
Yeah, I was from Ireland, so when he was complaining, he turned. All right, he turned red, and like he was complaining, this is the first time prefects have had to act like this. And like the people I was with, the other prefects, they were like so scared. For me, I was excited. I was like, I love this.
Angelica, it's stressing.
I love that so much.
God.
Poor man of God. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like maybe in the high school system we should have questioned the things in the Bible more? Would that have been productive?
I don't think exclusively in the Bible, but I do think that young people, especially in like the African context where so many things have been reframed as like being taboo or is being interpreted as you not respecting your elders or like tradition, culture, religion, etc. But I think if more people are going to be well involved and well invested, be it in their religions, their culture, their tradition, their governments, they need to question everything more. So I do think, yeah.
I don't know, like, where do we now draw the line between questioning and having like a productive discourse? Because clearly the educators that we have, they take the Bible as, concrete proof of maybe the essence of humanity. So I don't know, will the teachers like follow suit? Because I feel
also like the teachers are going to start changing. We are going to eventually be the teachers. Yeah. So if it's going to start with anyone, it might as well start with us, because those are not the same people who are going to be in charge of everything forever. So if we also just follow suit and just go along with what's currently happening, even though most of what's currently is happening is not working for us, then nothing's going to change in any sector that you can think of. Yeah.
Now, in the larger scale, do you feel like religion has a role to play in maybe making our countries better as African countries, or are they stifling our progress?
I'm currently questioning my position with religion, because I do think that religion can be beneficial to so many people in various ways, but also at the same time I do question my identity and relationship with religion as an African, whereby so much of what was considered like traditional African religion has been skewed to be seen as like demonic or anti-Christian or anti-whatever established religion you can think of. And I think that's terrible. So if we can have mutual respect for all forms of religion and non-religion for some people, then maybe it can be, I don't know, girl, I'm trying so hard to not negate religion, because I know that like people write for their religions and that's great. But oftentimes I'm going to be frank here, that like most of the religions that are largely practiced in Africa are not African by nature. And most of them have done an amazing job negating what is actually African by nature. And I think that's such a shame, especially because like in Southern Africa, people believe in like their ancestors and all that, and people will be ostracized if they're like, oh no, she was possessed by the ancestors and they're trying to like talk to the family through her, blah blah blah, and that person's going to be ostracized. But then when a person starts speaking in tongues in church, that's celebrated. And I think that's such a shame, and very much is still a colonial remnant, whereby this religion that was used to like steal so much from us is what's still carrying so many of our countries and families. And it's the same religion that's teaching us how to, not the same religion, it's not one particular religion, but the same body of religions that's teaching us to hate each other. Because also thinking about like queer people did exist in like the African context. Queer people, or non-binary people especially, were a large part of Southern African or like Bantu tribes and traditions. And I know for a fact that like both, I believe, Ndebele and Shona, the most widely spoken languages in Zimbabwe, do not have gendered pronouns. Everybody is a person. You can be a female person, you can be a male person, but at the root of it all, you are merely a person. It's not she, her, hers. No. And to see governments like, I believe it's the Ugandan government, right, that has like the very strict anti-queer bills that they were trying to pass. And I'm like, and even like in Zimbabwe, the largest argument is always going to be like, oh, that is anti-Christian. We are a Christian country. I do not think that my great-grandparents were Christian. I highly doubt that. And for us to have our governments, our systems so largely rooted in this religion that is ostracizing a large number of people, I'm questioning, as I said, that young people should be more questioning. I too am questioning some of these systems that have embedded themselves in the government. It's the same even with like America, whereby you're going to find this very conservative people that are Trump supporters being like, no, I support him because he's a Christian man. That man cannot even name his favorite verse.
Yeah, I saw that interview. All my verses, I love the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Genesis 1 verse 1. Okay, in the beginning God created heaven and earth. You cannot even pull that up. No.
Come on, dude.
And can you see, because so many of us are like, tie our identities with religion, and this is now speaking towards like America, but still applies like when we're speaking about Africa. So many of us tie our identities with religion, that so much so when people like Donald Trump come and co-opt religion, we cannot see past that one form of their identity. They come and say they have Christian values and that's all we're going to run with, even though in practice they are not living by the principles set out by Jesus, set out by God in the different books. So it's always
Why is religion so, why does it have a cultic like nature?
Because people love community, and everyone, life is easier when we can sometimes forgo some authority to another entity, to another body. So, you know, sometimes I could be having a bad day, but then I'm like, you know what? God always has a plan and everything feels better because I know that, okay, this setback, this failure is not only going to be shouldered by me, but by that larger entity too. Maybe you might actually read about this. I'm trying to think which book it is. Have you read The City of God?
No.
So I think they touch on that, on The City of God. I get confused between those two books by St. Augustus Hippo, between The City of God and what's the other one?
St. Augustine? I don't know.
No, but then there's another, hold on, City of God and... Because I think you read City of God in CC, but then there's the one you read in Letham.
Letham, I think it's St. Augustine.
That's his name. Yeah.
Confessions.
I think, the book is called Confessions. So I think they touch on that a little bit, whereby it's like, we're always going to find something or someone who can tell us what to do, so that all that decision making is not just on us, that when something goes wrong, it's not just on us. When we're going through a hard time, there's someone who can be there for us, even if our friends and family are not there. Which is why this is also another thing I love. I love cult documentaries, just like in general. HBO.
Have you heard of the cultic like thing going on? It went on Kenya in 2023, 2024.
What?
When there was this pastor called Pastor Mackenzie, and he told people to fast because they have to have like this connection to God. So there's a lot of people who died in the coast of Kenya because like they were following him and they believed that they would like meet Jesus.
I love learning about that so much, because it's still a similar thing whereby people are always going to be so willing to have someone to follow. I know that we all love to posit ourselves as like, oh my God, I'm a leader. No, when we love to have someone tell us what to do, and oftentimes we are more willing to be told what to do than we think. And I do not judge these people who find themselves in like Pastor Mackenzie situations, because it's human nature to want to be led and governed in a particular way. And unfortunately, sometimes it's detrimental, like with Pastor Mackenzie, and sometimes it manifests itself as religion.
The thing of like human beings wanting to be led and the whole factor of obedience. I feel like it plays a role also in like education, because they say that for someone maybe to make it to an Ivy League school, they have to like be very obedient because they follow the rules, and that is detrimental to maybe having the next, being the next frontier in something. Because, for example, Einstein, he was not going to class if it doesn't benefit him, and he came up with the general theory of relativity. We get to see this trend where if this person is great, they had to like be an outlier and not follow and not conform to the things that are happening.
I agree with that to some degree, because which is very true, that of course to be a maverick in whatever you are going to excel in, you have to do what most people aren't willing to do. You have to take the path less traveled. And then there's sometimes people who clearly want to fit that model of like a genius so hard that no, you're not being a genius right now, you're just being creepy. Can you just sit in class and be normal?
What do they do?
This didn't happen in my class, but my lit hum teacher, I don't know if
I love lit hum.
How much you know about lit hum, but it's like a class we all have to take as first years at Columbia.
Oh, right. Our viewers may not be aware of lit hum.
It's a literature class we have to take as first years at Columbia College. And my lit hum teacher was telling me that, like, in one of his first years teaching, so before the way your class now studies lit hum, we always started with the book The Iliad by Homer. He says on his first day at work, someone stands up like a student and recites the opening of the Iliad in Greek.
Ooh.
I fear that is not going to be beneficial to the discussion we are about to have in English in this here course. Was that necessary? Maybe not. Is it impressive? Sure, but time and place. Time. We can clearly tell you're smart. You speak multiple languages. Amazing.
But good for you.
But right now, this is not what we're doing. Yeah.
I feel like what my professor was saying a few days back was that he's trying to make it so that lit hum, the books that we read, because a lot of people are complaining that maybe the Iliad is not relevant to the society right now. So he's trying to make it so that it is relevant to our situation right now. So I like that approach, because maybe you could look at maybe the rage of Achilles and say, okay, maybe if you're rageful, it will lead you to do this. How we apply to the real world.
I guess, but also like Columbia students, that's also another thing. So not everything is going to apply to us. Sometimes it's very beneficial to learn for the sake of learning, to read these books. That's what my professor was big on, that like this may have nothing to do with you, but you know more now. You know more about a culture that you would have otherwise not been exposed to. You know more about historical events that you might not have been exposed to. And that makes you a better person. It makes you maybe a better thinker, a better conversationalist, a better analyst. It does not have to directly contribute to you right now,
Yeah.
It's the same way when people are like, no, I just read self-help books and not fiction because it doesn't add anything.
Oh no,
Sometimes
I have a war with those people.
Do for the sake.
I feel like fiction, because when you look at fictional work, okay, for like the Western canon, the Iliad, the Odyssey, the books that have really shaped Western ideology, and we look at books like maybe 1984 that are really, amazing, and they speak a lot to the society right now in the fiction. So when someone says that they don't read fiction because it doesn't help them directly,
and
I don't know.
And my thing is sometimes, and Casey, that's maybe a fault of places like Columbia and maybe places like our high schools back home in Africa, whereby everything has to have an end goal. Okay, you're studying this so that you get an A. You're studying this so that you get an internship. You're studying this so that you get into Columbia. In Columbia, you're studying this so that you get into grad school. You get a good job. Sometimes just do it just for the sake of it. Maybe just do it for a few minutes of quiet as you read this passage. Just do it because that's one more book that you read this year that you might not have read. It doesn't have to have an end goal.
Yeah, I remember in high school also we used to like read books, set books, and someone would like, what will this help me with? And then people always also liked complaining about maybe math and stuff. And then there was this meme of like, Wait, what, like, who built
Yeah.
those bridges? Like, the people who, like, find the math relevant, who use the math that you don't use.
Yeah.
It was really
like,
funny.
oh, when I have to use the Pythagoras theorem again.
How will that benefit me? The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
I haven't used all that information, but at least now, if I'm going to have like a conversation with some of my friends who are not human rights majors and are more STEM inclined, I have a baseline understanding,
And also, like, for the Pythagoras theorem, like, there's a way in which math is structured in which, if you don't learn the basics, you'll not understand the complex. So I remember there was this one time I was in, I think, the Form 4, which is like senior year of high school. And so a student asked me in Form 1, and she's asking me a question that deals with sine, cos, and all of that stuff. And I couldn't do it because I couldn't do it in the basic way. So I feel like maybe learning the basics is good in building up, but in a way also, I don't know.
I also don't know math, so I try, but I don't know how to add. It's okay. But yeah, not everything has to be so consequential in your life. Sometimes take that class because you thought it was interesting. Take a study abroad. Take a chance, go study somewhere new. Take a course that you really enjoyed, but everyone keeps telling you, oh, will that be profitable? Will that be that?
Now there's this paradox, or maybe a problem. We were talking with one of my friends, and we were like the Kenyan mentality, where we were saying that a lot of Kenyans always like say you have to take the big courses, quote unquote. The big courses are like law, medicine. And if you take, for most people who come to the States, for example, they end up not doing like medicine because of pre-med and like med school. That's just a huge struggle. And I'm wondering, okay, now you've said that you should take things for fun, but for maybe international students, there's stakes at play.
Okay, maybe I'm the wrong person to ask, because people always ask me, okay, what are you going to do like when you graduate? What's your 5-year plan? I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I take every day as it comes, and sometimes that's so liberating, not having like this stress of like what the future holds.
You believe in the absurd philosophy.
What is that?
The absurdism. Okay, there's now nihilism, existentialism, and absurdism. And absurdism is like, okay, the world is chaotic, and I'm just going to take it as it is.
Maybe, but I try sometimes to not let like the chaos be chaotic for me. Like, the whole point of taking it as it comes is so that things are not chaotic for me. But I fear I've always done like what people least expect me to do, because in high school we have to take 2 international exams, one at like the 4th year mark, then one at the 6th year mark. Our high school is 6 years.
All right.
So in the 4th year mark, the people in my class, like the A class, the smart people.
So like it's A levels and O levels, right?
Yeah. So for my O levels, I was in the sciences class. So I did all your maths, chemistry, biology, physics, but also at the same time, well, being in the A class meant that you took all the classes, whilst the other people could like take maybe the humanities or like commercial subjects, and we took everything. So at least it gave me the chance to learn everything. But because I did well in like all my subjects, people are like, oh my god, you passed like your biology, your maths, your physics, your chemistry, surely in your A levels you're also going to like take up the sciences and do like medicine at some point. I was like, yeah, I know, like I got A's in the sciences, but fortunately for me, I'm going to do like the arts. So the arts is like history, literature, English, geography. Yeah.
So you did both geography and history.
So for my A levels, for my O levels, I did maths, physical science, biology, English language, English literature, history, art. I did 10 subjects. I'm forgetting others. But then in A levels, I only did 3, because A levels is sort of like you're specializing in something. So I did history, English literature, and geography. But then people are like, oh no, why didn't you do sciences? You did so well in them in like O levels, you could have been a doctor, blah blah blah. But I knew for me to be able to do well in sciences in my O levels, I worked really hard. Whereas the art subjects came so easy for me. Like, I didn't have to study for geography. I wrote literature essays with so much ease. History, I don't know, it just made sense for me in my mind, whereby sciences and maths took a lot more effort from me. So even in my A-levels, I did super well, whereas other people who I could clearly tell were more inclined to like the arts or commercials, but were forced to do sciences because they did well in them during their O-levels, were struggling to carry that same momentum because you had to work hard to do well in them. Didn't come as easy for you like it does for other people. And now for your A-levels, you have to work like 10 times as harder, and people couldn't keep up that momentum, and it ended up not doing as well as they could have if they had chosen the classes that they like. And even then, when people are like, oh my God, like, what are you going to do with like arts? It's not like a marketable field. Like, even at home, for arts, the best like career you can opt into is like law. But like, what are you going to do? And I was like, I also genuinely don't know. Okay, I don't know. And then in my last year of high school, that's when I was like, okay, you know what, maybe I'll apply to Columbia. It was the only school I applied to, and it worked out.
Yeah,
so then I'm like, hey, see, if you don't overthink it, sometimes I'm just like, you know what, things are going to happen.
So
like,
was Columbia your first choice? Like, was it your, my dream school?
No, my dream school was University of Witwatersrand.
Oh, yeah.
But then, like, last minute, I was like, you know what, let me apply to Columbia. And then I got in, then I was like, okay, sure, this is what I'm doing then. But even then, because when I was at home, I was going to go into law, I had to, like, change my plans. So I had to once more go with the flow, learn for learning's sake. And I found another field that I really like that could still lead me to law. But now I am a more experienced student, that when I now then go into law school, I come at it with a different perspective that I might not have had I just went straight into law school after high school. So I think everything falls into place. Of course, like, plan out some of your things in life, but then sometimes do things for the sake of it. Even like people would ask my mom, like, oh my God, no, you should tell her to do sciences instead. It'll make her more money. Even like with my human rights degree right now, I don't know, I might not get a job. We'll see. But then, you know, I know so much about human rights now.
What's your favorite aspect of human rights?
So right now I'm taking this class called Children's Rights Advocacy. An amazing class. It's being taught by like actual advocacy lawyers from like Human Rights Watch. It's a Friday class. I know like at Columbia we hate Friday classes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's a Friday class, but I love it so much because our professors actually work. So they're coming from work and they're telling us the things that they're doing. And the only time they can come to like teach us is on a Friday. So I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I really like the class, but the kids do not want to be advocated for. It is so hard. Every single time I'm like, you know what? Today is the day I'm going to save the kids. So I'm working on like a research, like an advocacy strategy to advocate against like childhood homelessness in like cities in Zimbabwe. Every single time I think I'm going to help the kids, my professors are like, no, you forgot this. Like, I just got a grade back literally today from that class, and I was like, Michael, please, can you leave me alone right now? That's also another thing. Like, for someone who loves academic validation, I hate being told things about my work. Like, keep that to yourself. Your feedback, keep that to know. And like, you need feedback. Like, you need to know where you're going wrong and what I need to fix. So they are helping us so much. But kids are so hard to advocate for, but it's also been a really interesting class. Yeah.
So like, kids are so hard to advocate for in maybe what sense exactly?
In every way, because you have to have special protections for kids. You cannot always have kids like stand up for themselves, maybe in like the court system, because they are minors. You always need to have parent approval, but then sometimes parents are not there to approve for their kids to do things, which makes it more difficult. You have to come up with like ways to help the kids, but then they ask you, oh, so where are you getting the money from? I don't know, I thought this was an assignment. Okay, I don't know where I'm getting the money from. Then I'm like, the government? Then
The
they're like, are
Lord
you
will
sure?
provide.
Exactly. Like, can we just trust in God for this one time? Thank you so much. And then I'm like, oh, maybe the government. Then they're like, the Zimbabwean government won't give you this one. Then I'm like, I don't know. Okay, I don't know where we're gonna get this.
All right, so they want your plan to be like really, really like
so we
tailored.
need to like propose how we would advocate for our different causes. It's a really interesting class with like people from like the graduate schools, from the law schools, people who actually have NGOs that they're running and working for. Yeah.
And you were in Yale Young African Scholars. How was that like?
So the reason partly why I applied to Columbia was because of Yale Young African Scholars. So I did it in 2020. It was sometime during COVID because I know that we were exclusively online, and Columbia's international admissions person came and did a little presentation, and that's when
you're talking about Whitney Green.
Whitney Green. I met her on campus the other day, and I was like, "Oh my God, you're the reason I applied." And she was like, "Oh wow."
She was also in 2021.
She's the one who does like international recruiting. So then I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to go to New York. So it started off at like Yale Young African Scholars. My whole like, oh, maybe I'm going to go to Columbia. Then I applied later that year, I think.
All right.
The following year.
All right.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing conversation.
But if anyone is interested, like I really enjoyed Yale Young African Scholars.
Right.
Yeah. And apply for things. You never know what's going to work out. Don't overthink everything. Yeah. Things will fall into place. Sometimes you learn for learning's sake. It doesn't need to make you a millionaire. No.
Yeah. This has been a great conversation, Roli. I am honored to have you today.
I was really excited to be here, so thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for coming.